pain is nature's way of saying, hey, time to rest. But when you use menthol sprays or lozenges or coat the throat, even with natural elements like mucilage, which is a plant derivative that's kind of nature's slime, you might end up continuing to misuse or overuse your voice. Welcome to the Foster Your Voice podcast with me, Christy Foster. After a 30-year career in music and theater, I never imagined I'd be coaching trial attorneys. But once I entered your world, I quickly realized how critical and underutilized voice is in the courtroom. The truth is, you don't win trials with brute strength. You win with your voice. I'll give you tools to unlock your voice so you can communicate not just with purpose, but on purpose. If you want quick action tips to help you stay calm and in control, keep jurors engaged, and inspire your listeners to action, all through the power of your voice, you're in the right place. I'm Christy Foster, and I'm here to help you foster your voice. Hello, Foster fam. Welcome back. Always glad to do new episodes. And of course, it's my hope that it's reaching you and resonating with you. You know, I started this podcast because I was frustrated with the limitations of posting on all the social platforms. It's just hard to teach solid vocal technique, nonverbal strategies, and discuss thoughtful things in 90-second video reels. And then when the algorithm says that a 4 to 7 second reel is best, well, you can see the challenge. Now, I am still really active on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm getting more active on LinkedIn and Pinterest. So find me wherever you are spending your scrolling time these days. You're going to get daily reminders, quick tips, and inspirations. But the best place to get free skill building from me is through the podcast and through my weekly email newsletter. I'll put a link in the show notes for you to join my mailing list. I'm just a little nervous about losing connection with you. You know, social media could go away at any minute, and maybe you'd be glad about that. But my email list and my podcast are mine. So take just a second to join the mailing list and leave a star rating and a review for the podcast. Okay. Commercial over. Thanks for being here. I sure do like you a lot. Today, we're going to talk about all the ways to keep your voice healthy and things to avoid when you're struggling. But as always, before we dive in, I'd like to share something that has piqued my curiosity and see what you think about it too. Now, last week, we explored the question, what is it about people we're with that causes us to really settle in and be our most authentic self? And how can we cultivate not only in ourselves, but provide that for others? And I think there is a unique calling to be authentic in the courtroom, meaning we don't want it to be performative or fake. But yesterday, I was on a seminar call with Seth Godin, and something he said kind of flipped me on my head and got me wondering what your thoughts were. Now, if you don't know Seth, like I'm on a first name basis with him, if you don't know Seth, he is an author, a marketing strategist, entrepreneur, really like a modern day thought leader on all things marketing. You maybe would recognize him if you saw him, even if you didn't know who it was, because of his signature bright yellow glasses. Now, being a glasses person myself, I felt immediately drawn to him. Anyway, what he said was this: authentic is a great lie of the social media era. But no one wants an authentic doctor or authentic surgeon or authentic bus driver. If you're authentically in a bad mood, we don't want to see it. We want you to be consistent regardless of your authentic state. Consistency will be what builds trust. And he went on to say that the best brands make promises and they keep them. And when you consistently keep your promise, people trust you. It reminded me of a time when I stepped into running a theater company after a bit of a rocky time with the former leadership. And one of my staff members, as she reflected on what good leadership meant for her, she said, if you want to be trustworthy, you have to do trustworthy things. That really stuck with me. So, what does that mean for you in trial? Well, it doesn't mean that you fake it. It means you decide on purpose how you want to show up vocally, emotionally, physically, and then you stay consistent with that choice. That is authenticity. It's just not impulsive or mood based, it's intentional. So, what do you think? Is it better to be authentic or to be consistent? Are they opposites or can they work in tandem together? Maybe it's not authenticity versus consistency. Maybe consistency is how we earn authenticity in other people's eyes. Let me know your thoughts. Drop an email, Christy@fostervoicestudio.com. I'm really anxious to hear from you about this. You know what I hate? Being misunderstood. It's actually one of my biggest fears, if I'm honest, right up there with birds. Yes, I'm afraid of birds. Leave me alone about it already. Being misunderstood is just the worst, though. Trying to communicate something and seeing that it's just not landing the way you intend. A too harsh of tone with your kid or spouse that ended up setting them off. A thinking face that got interpreted as annoyance or irritation and ended up shutting down the conversation and leaving you baffled. It's so frustrating in our personal lives, but in the courtroom, your mismatched communication profile could break your case and lose you a deserving verdict. So, I've created a free guide to get you thinking about the emotional profiles you create. It's a printable guide to help you 10x your communication impact by mastering 6 emotional profiles for clear and authentic connection. I break down the 6 core emotions: happy, sad, love, pride, anger, and fear by giving you face, body, and breathing cues. Plus, I show you exactly which point on a 1 to 10 scale you should be with your pitch, pace, melody, volume, and tone in order to authentically capture the center of that core emotion. The link to get your free guide is in the show notes or by simply going to my website, fostervoicestudio.com. Don't wait to clear up your part of miscommunication and misunderstandings. Get your free download today. So I get asked all the time for my quick fixes when someone's voice is shot or scratchy or when they're vocally fatigued. Usually I'm asked this in the midst of their vocal crisis, and they want me to just wave a magic wand and poof, everything is fine and they're healthy again. Unfortunately, vocal health doesn't really work that way. Keeping your voice healthy really starts before you ever put it in a taxing situation. So let's talk about good vocal health practices, as well as some old wives' tales that people swear by. And together, let's see if we can keep your voice strong through allergy season and wear and tear. Now, a quick but very important disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. This is not to be considered as medical advice. Seek medical attention from professionals. So, what are some home remedies for when your voice isn't cooperating, when you have a sore throat? Now, coming from a theater world, I feel like I have seen it all, and actors are notorious for their high maintenance routines. Now, I don't mean to throw actors under the bus. I am one. And when I was in college, I had a semester of doctor mandated vocal rest. Imagine. I was a vocal performance major who wasn't allowed to sing for an entire semester. I wasn't even supposed to talk very much. So I literally wore a sign that explained my predicament and asked folks to help me respect the doctor's directives. No, I never said I was cool. I had to get my voice back, and I had to protect the healing process at all costs, financial, emotional, and yes, social. Now, I had been diagnosed with nodules. Those are basically calluses that build up on your vocal cords due to prolonged misuse or overuse. And hey, if vocal damage can happen to folks like me, and big name artists like Adele and Julie Andrews, people whose existence and profession revolves around keeping a healthy voice, the non professional folks are at risk too. People that have to speak for long periods of time on little sleep with high cortisol stress levels fueled by Red Bull and Monster drinks. Any of this sounding like someone you know? Those folks, okay, I'll stop beating around the bush. You need to have some strategies in place to proactively combat the things that will increase your vocal fatigue and wear out your voice. Like I said, I've heard them all. So let's break them down a little bit. First off, when you have a sore throat, what are you really after? You want something soothing, but you really need something that will address the tissue inflammation and get to the cause of it. A sore throat can be caused by underlying nasal issues like postnasal drip. Any allergy sufferers out there? So, your first hack should be to stop the drippage. Consistent use of a non medicated saline spray will flush out and rehydrate the nasal tissues. I like to use, it's called a Neomed nasal flush. It's like a neti pot, if you've seen one of those, but it doesn't throw my neck into misalignment. While keeping my head upright, water goes in one nostril and out the other. It's weird. It's a little gross. But people have been doing it for centuries, and I've experienced personal relief from congestion and from drippage. So, but how about some maybe less gross options? A saltwater gargle. Half a teaspoon of salt in warm water cuts right to it. It reduces swelling, loosens mucus, and helps kill bacteria. It just doesn't taste very good. I've heard of people gargling pickle juice too. That vinegar and salt option to cut through mucus and reduce swelling. But again, ew. But speaking of salt and vinegar, I recently heard of someone who, as soon as they start getting a sore throat, they eat a bag of Lay's salt and vinegar potato chips. And I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like the oil would give some coating to soothe, the salt would reduce inflammation, and the vinegar would address thickening mucus. I'm not recommending that option. I mean, just for other health reasons. But I can see how all these old wives' tales and home remedies could make sense and maybe give some relief. Now, drinking special teas, that's always a popular option. Remember, the goal here is to soothe and address inflammation. So, herbal teas like chamomile, peppermint, or licorice root are anti inflammatory, soothing, and sometimes are mildly antiseptic. Adding honey to your tea or even just to warm water sweetens things up a bit and soothes, but honey is also antimicrobial, so bacteria can't keep growing. Personally, I'm a big fan of diluting apple cider vinegar into warm water and adding honey. Now, stick with me here. Apple cider vinegar is simple, straightforward. It works for me, cuts through the mucus, helps prevent bacterial growth when I'm sick. It's all good. There's a real temptation, though, to try to just numb the pain, adding things like cayenne pepper to a tea or using throat sprays and lozenges that have menthol and antiseptic qualities. Even things like throat coat tea that have high mucilage content will well, coat or mask the damage. The danger here is that when you mask the pain, it's really easy to forget that you're injured, right? The danger here is that when you mask the pain, it's really easy to forget that you're injured, right? Pain is nature's way of saying, hey, time to rest. But when you use menthol sprays or lozenges or coat the throat, even with natural elements like mucilage, which is a plant derivative that's kind of nature's slime, you might end up continuing to misuse or overuse your voice. Now, all these options, the good, the gross, and the unsavory, are systemic remedies. They rely on your body's systems for overall hydration and assimilation. None of them actually touch your vocal cords, though. I mean, they can't. Your vocal cords are in your larynx, which is protected from food and beverage by the epiglottis. Food and drink go down the other tube, the esophagus. We've all had something go down the wrong pipe, right? Well, what happens? You choke. So, all of the gargling and special teas are only going to ever touch the surrounding area. They can still provide some relief, but they're not actually coming in contact with the damaged vocal cords. The only thing that will have meaningful impact on the vocal cords themselves is rest and inhaling steam, like from a humidifier or nebulizer. And that's what a lot of actors are using, portable handheld nebulizers to do steam treatments just prior to showtime. Now, recently, I was watching a big cycling race called the Giro d'Italia, the Tour of Italy, which, if you've been following along, should come as no surprise to you. I'm into cycling. So, anyway, one of the commentators had a particularly scruffy, hoarse voice that day. And the other program hosts speculated that it was caused by altitude, the really long days, and even blamed it on his generous social energy. We all know Jens loves a chat. After suggesting that someone give him some Fisherman's Friends, which is a popular menthol-infused lozenge, they then suggested that perhaps he just needed some additional vocal training. Now, it was all said in fun and wasn't intended as a slight, but I was shouting at the TV, using good supported vocal tone, yes, let's give him some voice lessons! There's just no substitute for putting in the work before you even need the benefits of it. Learning to use your breath to support your voice and being able to access your full spectrum voice through all 5 building blocks, pitch, pace, melody, volume, and tone. This is what promotes a healthy instrument that can withstand the demands of your high-stakes communication. When you practice the techniques, condition your nervous system, and develop the muscle memory, you're able to troubleshoot when that niggling tickle unexpectedly shows up. This is why it's important to keep fostering your voice. And hey, if you want any of these tips in a handy cheat sheet, use the link in the show notes to join my mailing list, and I'll drop it right into your inbox. I'll see you next week. Thanks for pulling up a seat with me today and for being part of the Foster fam. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review or a comment so I can give you a shout out on a future episode. During the week, you can find me on Instagram at Foster Voice Studio, where I'm dropping little nuggets of vocal technique and leadership wisdom. You can also join my mailing list by visiting fostervoicestudio.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. I'll send a weekly vocal tip every Tuesday directly to your inbox. Until then, keep fostering your voice.